What's up, guys? My name is Anthony Guzzo, and I compete every day, not just for myself, but every single person that I interact with.
This is the Everyday Competitor Podcast. Each episode features people just like you, winning in their career, workouts, and life just like you want to. All because they've chosen to compete every day. Here's your host, Compete Everyday founder, Jake Thompson.
Anthony, man, what's happening today?
What is up, my brother? How are you feeling?
Good, man. I'm excited to have this conversation. We go back and forth a lot on Instagram, and I've just enjoyed our interactions. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners, our viewers today. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, who you are. Help us get to know you.
Hey, guys. So, 37 years old, entrepreneur, self-employed guy. And just like you just said, I'm following you for a while now. Actually dates back a couple years, actually, since the CrossFit days and the shirt days and all that stuff. And I'm just so glad to be here with you today, man. I'm really excited to do this. And like I said, you've been going back and forth with me and you for a minute. And this is finally good to actually be with you right now. So,
dude, so you own your own business. How long have you been an entrepreneur? What inspired you going down that route?
So here's the crazy part of that story is about 2 months ago, I actually said, forget it with the job, man. It was actually holding me back for the last couple of years, probably 4 or 5 years now. I had this job for 3 years. Before that, I had another job for 3 years. I was running someone else's business, running someone else's business. And I just didn't see really an end or a light at the end of the tunnel, as you could say. And it was just enough is enough, man. I was trying to hustle at home when I got home at 10 o'clock at night or putting in 60-hour work weeks. And I tried to come home and it got to the point where it was just like kicking the dog, I come home, kick the dog. My relationship started kind of overflowing that cup of energy with my girlfriend. And I couldn't have it anymore, man. It was such a nasty way to impact my life was through this beating down the door, this 9 to 5. And I just said, forget it. And went through the route that I knew that I could be successful with. And that was being a coach, being a nutrition coach. I hate the word life coach, but I'm going to say it now because I think people can relate to it. I just hate that life coach word. It's the exact same thing that you do, man. To spread that positivity and love to every single person. I just knew that I was better. I was better than what I was doing. And I just jumped into it, man. So I went to, NCI with Jason Phillips, great man. And I know you know him too. And got all that stuff done with nutrition. And now I'm doing personal training with a close friend of mine who owns a gym down the street. And I'm just trying to impact as many lives as I can every single day, man. And it's just, it's a blessing to wake up every single day, put my 2 feet on the ground and understand this is what I want to do with my life, man. This is it, man. This is the path.
I love it, man. I love that passion. I love that energy. And similar to yourself, I've had the conversation this week a few times of I hate the label life coach. And a lot of that has to do with the stigma that's out there around it. You don't really have the same stigma when you talk about a business coach or a nutrition coach. But when it comes to life and having that right mindset, more often than not, the work you do as that coach and individual, I know firsthand from experience, and I'm sure you can relate as well with the work you do with your clients, it's more mindset. It's more creating those habits, that right attitude. How are you choosing to go about every day? Even when it's a business conversation, even when it's a health nutrition conversation, it's a lot around mindset and life. And so even though it gets a bad rap and I tend to avoid that label at all costs, that's ultimately what you're trying to do because you're trying to help someone reach their best career and their best life. For you, I'm curious in your life before going and working with Jason and his great team out there, who are people that you look to or learn from as kind of your either direct one-on-one conversation coaches or people online that you would just study and follow over the years as you were growing up and getting older to have the energy and the mindset that you do now?
Yeah, so obviously the number one guy is probably Gary Vee online, and everyone before him and the Belus and everyone before that, and Simon Sinek, all the major players in the game that I just love, that I just started listening to these guys and holy fuck, man, the way they have changed my outlook, especially Simon Sinek, man. That man puts words together like no other, and I feel the same way about you too, Jake. The way you come across and some of the things that you say in the paragraphs and the videos, it's just it's not just about the motivation, man. If we all understand that, motivation only goes so far. Motivation only brings you out of that bed, out of that discomfort zone to get you to the gym. It gets you to your job that morning on the way to work. Motivation gets you there. But like you said, mindset wise, right? My father instilled this crazy notion in me that I could do whatever the fuck I want to do in my life. And I loved him for it. But on the backside of my head, I almost hated him for it because I felt like I was Superman, bro. Like he put so much crazy shit in my head. I felt like I was Superman. I felt I could leap over tall buildings. And I love him for it. And he's still here today, 74 years old, kicking and screaming, still working, not retired. And he's still to this day, when I walked away from my job a couple months ago, he was the first one to call me. He was the first one I went to. I called him right away. I walked into the parking lot and I called him. And I said, listen, this just happened. He goes, just like Gary Vee. He was just like, and I'm like, and I was like, damn, you're right. He's like, why are you calling me? I'm like, I'm calling you to tell you. He's like, I don't care. He's like, go do you. He's like, I knew this was going to happen. He's like, every time you came over for pizza and a beer, he's like, I could see it on your face. You didn't like that job. Like every job before that, he was just like, I was waiting for you to do this. Like I just said, turning 37 last week, I made a post about it. And it's just eye-opening to me, my man. Like, it's almost like the older we get, the more that we see. It's so wild. It's just so wild, bro. It's like,
wouldn't you love to go back to like 10, 11 years old with this mindset and just
see what happens? Like the red pill, whatever pill, and you see that meme all the time, like,
yep,
have $50 million today or go back with the same mindset as 10. I was like, dude, I'll go back at 10.
Yep.
I guess it's endless possibilities, right? But it all, like you just said, like it all starts with the mindset. Even with the whole life coaching thing, quote unquote life coaching thing, like it's not about the food, it's not about the motivation, it's about what's up here in your head to get that right first. If you can't be right up here, if you can't be right with oneself, you got nothing, man. Like you really cannot even take that step forward. And it affects everybody around you. It really, really does.
I love the fact that, this is something, this almost unbeatable attitude is something that was instilled from you from a young age. But it sounds like throughout your life, you've been attracted to and listening to different sources, gaining knowledge, gaining inspiration, learning how to build this unbreakable mindset for your life, even though your dad put in that foundation. At what point, was it 2 months ago, or at what point in your life did you look back on, or can you look back on and say, this is the moment I started to see things change and how I viewed the world and how I attacked it? Or has it just been, you've had the same approach that you've always known?
Yeah, so there's the question. And I was waiting for you to ask that, and I really didn't know how to respond it. And I talked to my girlfriend about it last night, and she's like, what are you going to do when Jake asks you that question? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put it out there just for everyone to understand this right now. And I don't want to turn anybody off. And I definitely don't want to turn you off with this, but 7 years ago in my life was a very huge turning point. And I shouldn't be here today going forward with the story. I shouldn't be here sitting here talking to you, Jake, or we shouldn't even have met. I was a very different person. And the years leading up to about 7 years ago, I lived in the bottom of a bottle, and I was hanging around a lot of the wrong people in my life. And they weren't my friends. They're not my friends today. I don't talk to them. I don't even know their phone numbers. I don't even know what they're doing in the world today. It doesn't even matter. They were enablers to me. Besides living in the bottom of a bottle, I had a really awesome cocaine addiction. That took me to places that I never thought I'd be as a person, which honestly led down to the road of a really nasty failed suicide attempt, and spent 2 days in the ICU at Silver Cross Hospital, that right around the corner from my house. So I get to stare at that beautiful hospital every single day when I come home, which is kind of a crazy thing. But let me tell you what, when my life turned around is the day that I came home on that third day from the ICU. My parents were outside my room. My father had to come into my room and look at me. And I had nothing to say to him, but I'm sorry. And as he said, don't worry about it. Nobody's here. Let's go home. Drove me back to my home and kicked me out of the car, and he said, you go upstairs and you do what you got to do. I lived at that point on the second floor of this place all by myself in like this huge 2,500 square foot loft, beautiful loft, right? But he's like, you go up there, you figure out what you got to do. And I remember walking up those stairs, man, it felt like it was 60 flights of stairs, dude. And I swear it was probably 5. And it was like felt like 60 flights of stairs. And I remember opening my door to my house that was kicked in the night before from a friend who I must have called in my haze of this is the end of the day thing. And I walked in, I saw my whole life in front of me. Everything was laid out. The bottles, the pill bottles, everything was in front of me. And I had to clean it up myself. While I did that, I looked in the mirror and I said, enough is enough. Today is the day you change everything. And I went from a drug addicted alcoholic to the person that you see in front of you. I was 230 pounds overweight at, 29 years old to, who I am today at 215 pounds, just ripped muscle fucking guy. And my life is so much better meeting people like you and everyone who I said. And, it's those things that we look back on, and it's not the things in the past that make you who you are today, but we just can't forget about those little things that pushed you to the place that you are today. And it's just an amazing thing, man. I'm so happy to be here sitting in front of you today. You have no idea, Jake, how much this actually really fucking means to me today, man. Like, I can't even explain to you how much this means to me.
Well, man, I just want to thank you for being courageous enough and transparent enough to share that story, because there's potentially somebody listening to this, watching this, that is on a path similar to what you were on. And they may be having some of those same thoughts that you did. And so being able to hear your story gives them hope that there's another way out than suicide. There's another way out from that certain lifestyle that they're going down, and there's 100%. Happiness and opportunity there. So thank you, man, incredibly for sharing that. I'm curious, at that point when you're in your place, you're picking everything up, you say, today's it, I'm done, I'm changing everything. Do you remember what those next days, weeks, months were like, and how you started slowly changing that mindset and changing your attitudes and who you were? Because for a lot of us, we want to make a change, and then, as we talked about earlier, motivation fades quick and we lose that motivation. And so it's got to be that daily process of grinding it out and building who we want to become. What did that look like for you? So for someone listening that's like, even if it's not that dark of a place for them, they're right in a bad place, and they're like, I just need to figure out what that first step, or what are some things I can do now?
Yeah. So for anyone that's listening, or anyone that has it together or doesn't have it together, you guys, it's the 1% every day, man. It is that 1%, that attitude and mentality that you can be better every single day. I think for a lot of people, we look at like, it's an all or nothing, right? Like, we're going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro tomorrow. Well, like, homie, you haven't even bought the rope. like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we look at things in such heights and such big demands, because I believe that's the way the society put on us. It's an all or nothing. You got to lose 20 pounds in a month, or you got to do this so much. And honestly, it's making the bed every morning. It's understanding that when you put your 2 feet on the floor, you can just be that 1% better every day. You change that one little thing over time. It becomes that skill, and then all of a sudden it's part of your life. And then next thing you know, every single month you have new skills, new parts of your life. Next thing you know, you're putting that past, or you're putting those things that really are weighing down on you, you're putting those behind you. It's like, you just got to keep moving forward, man. That's what it's all about. And you know what? Like, I keep going back to this, but like, do talk to somebody. If you need a coach, get a hold of somebody. Get a hold of you. Shoot a DM. Shoot an instant message to somebody. Talk to somebody. And for people like you and I, it's like, we need to talk to more people and ask these questions. Ask these questions and kind of integrate yourself into these people's lives, because they don't want to talk about it, bro. No one wants to talk about stuff like this. It's such a weird faux pas that we have, like, oh, we can't talk about that. No, we can't. Like, no, dude, like, we can. We're humans. We've gotten so far away from natural talk. It's so crazy, right? But to go back to what the question was, you just got to be 1% better every single day, man. If it's the littlest thing in the world, it's still progression. It is still progression forward.
It is. And one of the things you hit on that I loved actually came up in one of the other Everyday Competitor episodes, was the idea of making your bed every morning. And there was a video that went viral a few years ago from, I believe it was a Navy admiral talking about it. And he said it's the smallest thing, but when you get out of bed, you make your bed first thing in the morning, you automatically give yourself a win. You've done something for the day. And so your brain rewards you for that. And we talk about that. I talk about that a lot in my keynotes of we get on our phones and we get on social media and we're scrolling Instagram and there's great motivation, but we get likes and comments and our brain starts hitting us with all these rewards, psychological rewards of you're accomplishing all this stuff. But all we're doing is scrolling, when in reality, it's like, what's the next step I can take? What is the one thing I can do today? Your brain gives you the same reward, but it moves you forward in life. And so I love hearing you say that. We'll have down in the show notes as well a link to the competitor scorecard anyone can download and use just on a daily basis. If you're in this position or you're just someone that's like, I don't even know what to do for a next step, I just need to focus on what that one step is instead of worrying about the 100 things I'm trying to do down the road. Download that, use that. It's a game changer in terms of your daily activity and focus. Anthony, I got to know something. I know a lot about you now. I think our listeners and viewers want to know a lot about you now. But for anyone that gets a chance to interact with you on Instagram or perhaps in the Compete Facebook community, what's one thing you want us to know about you today?
To know about me today is that 2019 is going to be the year, my man. This is the year where everything changes, not just for me, but every single person that interacts with me. I'm looking to outsource all of my love, positivity, and encouragement, if you quote unquote motivation, to every single person that wants to hit me up. DM me, slide into my DMs, guys. I'm going to make you smile. I'm going to make you smile every single fucking day. I promise you that. It's not about me this year. It's about you guys. Jake, it's about you also. Like every time you hit me up, man, every time we interact through Instagram, like I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to make you smile, man. This is the year, bro. This is just the year to end all years and to start every single person that I come across on that path of enlightenment and enrichment and everything that we're going to do this year. Everything that you've been talking about, it's going to happen, my man. I guarantee it's going to happen. I can tell by looking at you right now with that smile. It's going to happen, man. And anyone that wants to interact with me, bro, I know it's going to happen because they have questions and I'm just going to push you to that place. Maybe you don't want to go there. Tough shit. You're going to go there, man. That's what everyone's going to be doing this year. Trust me. Everyone needs to hit me up. I'll take time like this to each and every one of you. And with that being said, I actually just started a DM group with a bunch of people I don't even know. And we're actually calling each other once a week, bro. It ends up being 20 minutes to an hour. And we're just talking. I don't even know these people. And we're just throwing everything out of our heads, out of our brains, onto the table and being like, what do I do with this today?
I love it.
And we figure that shit out. It's so bananas, man. It's so bananas.
I love it, man. That is huge for anyone listening, watching. Hit my man up on Facebook. Hit him on Instagram. He's going to bring it. I promise he's just not talking to talk. He backs everything up. And so if you're having one of those days or weeks or you feel like it's a month, hit him up. Let's start that positive mindset. Let's shift that behavior. Okay, so what's something, if 2019 is the year, what's one goal you've got your eye on this year?
The goal that I have my eye on personally is to grow my business. I would say the word would be tenfold. It's a really dark waters for me right now, man. I dove in with a plan, but nothing set up. So you can say going from 0 clients, I want to have enough clients where at the end of the year, I promised my girl we'll be at Disney for Christmas, sitting in a wonderful place, opening up the windows, smiling and probably crying in the morning that like we finally made it, and that is the goal. She's finishing up school and, so she will be a speech path at the end of next year. Also, she'll just be finishing up her clinicals. And I promised her we're going to be at Disney looking out on some beautiful palm trees and beautiful people and smiling, looking at, for Christmas, man. That's like the biggest goal I've had in my life, bro. And I just feel like it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. And I can't wait, bro. I just cannot wait.
So I love the fact, the analogy of the dark waters, like you've dove in.
Yeah, dude.
Can't see around you. The plan's changing. It's funny. We were talking yesterday with a few people about the famous Mike Tyson quote, like everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And for a lot of people at that moment, when they get punched in the mouth, when they jump into those dark, cold waters, cold shocks them. All of a sudden they don't see everywhere. They panic. They get out of the water. They get out of the ring. They fall down. They're like, I'm done. But those competitors, those people with that right attitude are saying, cool, I'll get back up. You've got a heck of a swing, Mike Tyson. Let's see what's next. Or that, I don't care if I'm in these dark waters. It's cold, but I can go forward. And so even though you've acknowledged that, the fact that you're aware of it and saying, hey, I'm still going through them, I'm still stepping through them is huge. And so for anyone that's working with you or has the opportunity to work with you, know that it's all about diving into those dark waters, but not doing it alone. And if you've got someone that's been to that dark place, that's been in those dark waters of starting a new venture or going into changing his lifestyle completely, there's ways and steps and things that they've learned to be able to help you do that same thing. So before we wrap up, the one thing I've got to ask you today that I'm just curious about because of these different pivot points in your life, when you were 10 years old and believing you were going to be Superman, looking up to today, if you were to look back at that 10-year-old who thought he was going to be Superman Unbreakable, what's the one thing you would tell him, one piece of advice?
Let's go. Because the fact of, even though I felt like I was Superman, I looked at the ground a lot when I talked to people. I couldn't look in people's eyes. I don't know if you remember the retired basketball player, Kendall Gill.
Yep.
He grew up in Matson, in Matson, Illinois. I grew up in Frankfort, Illinois. It was right down the street. We were actually best friends with his neighbors in Matson. And I remember this specifically. It's ingrained in my brain. I remember walking next door. He was playing, was it Rich South or Rich East at the time? And this little white boy, right, walking up to probably his kneecap at the time with my baseball hat on, flat build, too big for my head. You know, it was probably like a Frankfort Township baseball hat. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even a baseball team's hat. And I remember looking at the ground, and he picked up my hat and bent my bill up to pull my head up, and he said, "Look me in the eyes when you talk to me, boy." And you're talking about Kendall Gill at the time probably looked like he was as big as a building, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, at that time he probably was 6'7", something like that, 6'6", probably bigger than that. Huge dude looking down on this little kid, this little boy, telling me to look at him when he talked. And I remember still to this day, like there is times when I start talking to people and I look down, I just remember that every single time it hits my head. But besides looking at people when they talk, like, let's go. Be that confident person that you know you are. Like, I knew I was always going to be a confident person, but I never really had those chances and opportunities in my life to take advantage of it. And when I did, I didn't. And that's the thing too, like, speak up when spoken to. And when you're spoken to, don't just be the loudest person in the room because you're that asshole, but be the loudest person in the room because you want to make a difference that way. And that you know that things that you have to say are more important than that person that's trying to be that asshole, the loudest person in the room. You are better than who you are today. And if I could just travel back and pick myself up by the face and say, dude, let's go. You got this. You will be the person that you know you want to be. Put myself back down and walk away and never be seen again. I think that would just be it, bro. Like, that would just be it.
Dude, I love it, man. Thank you so incredibly much for coming on the show this week. Before I go, we know you're active on Instagram. What is your Instagram handle?
Yeah, so I'm at Everyday Anthony J on IG and on Facebook. That's the name of my company. Also, you guys, please slide in, say hi, give a follow, give a like to anything I do. Whatever I can do to provide more value to you, that's what I'm doing this year. Like I said, it's not about me at all this year. It's always about you guys. So Everyday Anthony J.
Boom. Thanks, my man.
Bro, love you, man. Thank you so much. My name's Anthony Guzzo, and I'm an everyday competitor.
Thank you for listening to the Everyday Competitor Podcast. Visit www.competeforyour.life to learn how you can get connected with other competitors, contact the show, and find free resources to help you compete every day in life.